Who dat to the Who Dat Nation? Welcome to the Dome Patrol Podcast, your podcast for the New Orleans Saints here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this, ladies and gentlemen, the preseason Week 1 breakdown of the New Orleans Saints versus the Arizona Cardinals, where we saw the Saints come out victorious by the score of 16-14. And this was your typical preseason game. It was no flash. There was no excitement, really no big highlights to take away from. And when you watch preseason games, you're not really watching it for all that. You're watching preseason games to see the matchups, to see who is vying for certain positions, whether it be a starter or to be a backup to the starter. And so there's a lot going on behind the scenes that you pay more attention to. You're paying more attention to the O-line. You're paying more attention to the D-line. You're paying more attention to the linebackers and your backup running backs and your wide receivers. Who is going to stand out as the number three receiver here? Really the number two, because let's be honest, I like Shadeed, but is he a true number two? Can somebody else come along and fill in that void? And that's not to say to do away with Shadeed, by no means. I'm saying, use him more in the slot or something like that. But there's nobody that really has stood out in that role. And you can make an argument, we haven't had no one stand out in a number one role. All due respect to Chris Olave, but Chris Olave hasn't shown he's a true number one yet. I mean, we're going into his, third season? And he hasn't had that moment, that breakout game to whereas we were like, okay, this is the guy. This is the dude. We haven't had that yet. We saw flashes of it, but we haven't had a consistent, he's a beast mode type situation going with Chris Olave. Now, a lot of that is not his fault. Some of that is on the quarterback. Some of that is on the scheme. And so this is truly the year to kind of observe Mr. Olave and see where he's at, what type of player he is, what type of receiver he is, especially fitting in this so-called new innovative offense. That was another thing that we wanted to look at this week and the next couple of weeks in this preseason. This new and reformed offense that the New Orleans Saints have under Clint Kubiak is supposed to be a more updated offense that is currently ran by 30 other teams in the NFL who are successful. But we have been stuck in this prehistoric 2003 style of offense that everybody has picked up on. And so we're finally moving forward and trying to catch up with the rest of the lead here. But you're not going to get to see the whole package in preseason. I'm not naive to sit here and say, oh man, this ain't working either. I was watching not watching, but listening to some watch-alongs while I was watching the game, just to see what other people's head was at. And a lot of people who I was listening to were like, man, this looks pedestrian. Where it is pedestrian, it's the preseason. Have you ever watched a preseason game? That's what I wanted to say. But I'm not on that feed. But it's like, man, come on, man. Y'all got to use your head. You're not going to get this Kyle Shanahan style end arounds and all this other foolishness. No. Now, we did get some form of innovation. I did see motion. I did see play action. I saw a couple of bootlegs, and you know, it kind of shocked me. Like, man, I haven't seen this out of a Saints team, and God knows how when, if ever. That's weird, and that was maybe 5 or 6 plays where I saw that stuff, but the rest was basic. And as far as a drive is concerned in this game, what impressive drives did the Saints put together? None. Other than 2-minute drills at both endpoints of this game, the end of the first half and the end of the game. Those two drives were put together, and to be 100% honest with you, those weren't really drives. The drive at the end of the game, we saw a nice deep ball thrown by Jake Hader to A.T. Perry along the sideline to set up a field goal at the end of the half. That was cool, but that was the drive, that one deep pass. That last drive, which was a decent drive, but what really ushered them down the field to get in field goal position was penalties by the Arizona Cardinals to set them up with a kind of a chip shot field goal. So, you know, not to take away from them, but that's what happened. Let's just be real. But both teams were just going through the motions, to be honest with you. And you know, like I said, I wasn't expecting a barn burner of a game here. I just wanted to see these matchups. Let's go through the stats of the game against the Cardinals and start our dissection of these players who played this past Saturday in Arizona. Let's begin with passing. We had 3 quarterbacks that played in this game, and the leading passer out of the 3 quarterbacks was Jake Hader. He was 9 of 13 for 107 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. And the majority of that 107 came on that deep bomb that I was talking about earlier to A.T. Perry in that final drive of the second quarter. But kudos to him. It was a pretty ball. It got there. To be honest with you, A.T. Perry could have kept running. He still should be running right now, to be honest with you, but that's besides the point. Our second leading passer was Spencer Rattler. He was 9 for 17, 70 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, but he did have a rushing touchdown later in the game. Derek Carr was 2 for 6 for 12 yards. Now, he was only in for 2 drives, I believe, and I was actually shocked he played that much because Arizona didn't have Kyler Murray out there. He was dressed, but he didn't play. But Derek Carr was out there, and here's when I talk about evaluation. When you look at these players, I'm looking for attitude. I'm looking for this swag. I'm looking for this confidence, especially in this position, especially from a quarterback. And out of the 3 quarterbacks, Derek Carr didn't have that. Jake Hader looked comfortable with this offense. Spencer Rattler looked comfortable in this offense. Derek Carr did not. Now a lot of that could be a bias. I'm gonna just throw that out there now because I make it no secret that Derek Carr tore his draws with me last year as a Saints quarterback. Not the biggest fan of Derek Carr, but I'm still willing to give him a shot. Why? Because I'm a Saints fan. He's the quarterback of my team, and so I have to put some faith in him and hope that he does succeed. But I just don't see it. I honestly don't see it. Now, in a couple of weeks, when the real games begin, maybe there'll be a switch. Maybe he's gonna turn it on then. I'm praying that he does. Highly unlikely. It was just it's just something about his attitude that just doesn't. And it's not a bad attitude. It's not like he's stomping up the sideline like, oh, this is my team. I don't have to do anything. It's not that. He just doesn't look right. He does not have the swag, man. I mean, Jake Hader looks, because I don't want to harp on Spencer Rattler, who was my pick. I like Spencer Rattler. I hope that he becomes the future of this New Orleans Saints franchise, but that's down the line. I'm not saying stick him in now, but look at Jake Hader. He looks like he's ready for prime time. He looks like he fits into this offense. Now, he could have been putting on a show, but that was some real good acting to me. You know, he looked poised. Ratner looked poised. Carr looked like he was the rookie. But like I said, it was only 6 dropbacks. You know, we still have 2 more preseason games to go. We'll see. We'll see if he plays any more preseason games. We know last year he only played 1 drive the entire preseason, and we saw the results of that. So we'll see how it goes moving forward. Let's move over to rushing. In our rushing category, the leading rusher in this game against the Cardinals was Mims. He had 10 rush attempts for 38 yards, no touchdowns. Robinson had 7 carries for 28 yards. Williams, 6 carries for 20 yards. Spencer Rattler had 2 carries for 8 yards and a touchdown. Kamara had 2 carries for 3 yards. Jake Hader had 1 carry for 3 yards. And I must say, I'm a little worried when it comes to the running back position. Not because of Alvin Kamara, because Alvin Kamara knows his job. He understands the assignment. The couple of times he ran the ball pretty well. I know 2 yards or 3 yards, whatever it was. One was called back because of a holding. Actually, a couple of them were. But I like the way he ran the ball when he hit the hole. You know, he has that explosiveness, that first cut. The other running backs don't have that. Jamal Williams does not have that. Jamal Williams, I don't know what happened, because when he was in Detroit, man, he was a beast. I don't know what happened. He just does not have that burst. Mims, he's a bigger back. So I'm not looking for him for speed wise, but he doesn't have that burst. I don't know. I'm a little concerned, and I can't depend on Kendrick Miller. He stay hurt, so I'm a little concerned with the running back situation. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. Hopefully it'll get better. Like I said, first preseason game. I'm not gonna start flipping out or anything. I'm just saying it's it's a tad bit concerning. That's all. It's something to watch moving forward. Moving over to receiving yards, we have our leading receiver tonight was A.T. Perry. He had 4 catches for 84 yards, and the bulk of that was that big 58-yard catch from Jake Hader at the end of the half. The tight end, Hoker, 3 catches for 24 yards. I knew nothing about this guy. I saw that they had him in camp, and I hadn't really heard nothing about him. Yeah, I'm kind of warming up to him. I like he's your prototypical tight end. He isn't one of these hybrids that I know of, you know, like how Jimmy Graham was a basketball player converted into a tight end, and so on and so forth, or Jawan Johnson, who by trade he's a wide receiver, but they turned him into a tight end. And Taysom Hill, you already know what that is, but he's a true blue tight end. You know, and I like his size. I like how he catches the ball, runs after the catch. I kind of like him. I'm gonna keep my eye on him. I hope we still have a place for him by the end of camp. Coming in in 3rd place, we have a fellow Nakuka boy. Not Puka Nakua, but his brother. He had 2 catches for 19 yards. Morgan had 1 catch for 13 yards. Chris Olave had 1 catch for 10 yards, and a lot of others had one for 2 or 3 or 6, all the way down the line. Um, this was another position I mentioned earlier. I think that who's going to stand out, who is coming for that number 2 receiver spot, number 3 receiver spot, or dare I say, number 1 receiver spot. you know, uh, we didn't get to see that rookie that everybody was high on in camp. I don't know if he was hurt or anything. I heard his name mentioned during the broadcast, but they didn't. I don't recall them saying if he was hurt or not. I have to look it up, but I wanted to see him. Oh my God, I just had his name on the tip of my tongue. But anyways, we didn't get to see him. A.T. Perry, who all through camp, all I've been reading about is that he's having a horrible camp, but he had the biggest day receiving wise for the New Orleans Saints. So maybe he redeemed himself. And I like A.T. Perry. I hope that he will step it up, that he'll be one of those guys that you can rely on at the wide receiver position. Moving over to defense, our leading tackle tonight was Monty Rice. Monty Rice had 7 total tackles, and nobody really stood out from that aspect on defense. I really was focusing more on the defensive line, especially early on, when Chase Young was in the game, and they played Chase Young a lot. I really wasn't expecting him to play at all. This was kind of a shock to me that he played, but he really came to play, and he made his presence known on every single play. Am I expecting that every game? No, I'm not expecting that every game, but it's good to see our defensive line getting pressure without having to blitz. Heck, even in the past, blitzing we couldn't get there, so it was it was a struggle. But to see Chase Young get in the backfield, to see Brian Brasheed get in the backfield, Carl Granderson to get in the backfield, that was pretty awesome. That was pretty exciting to watch from a fan standpoint. Yeah, I mean, we had 4 sacks as a team tonight, which is pretty awesome. And so that was good to see. We didn't get any turnovers, but there were a lot of pass breakups. Coverage was pretty tight, except going across that middle. And that was more towards the end of the game when we got towards the bottom half of our depth chart. So I'm not tripping over that either. But there was a lot of pass defense from our secondary, and Kool-Aid showed up. Kool-Aid had a few good plays as well. It was great to see that. I'm very encouraged by that. So overall, as a team, Saints had 286 total yards against the Cardinals. We didn't force any turnovers, but more importantly, we didn't turn the ball over either. We had 17 first downs, and we had the ball for 28 minutes and 51 seconds. Saints had 9 penalties against the Cardinals, which is all right. Which isn't bad for the first preseason game. You normally see double digits in the first preseason game, especially with rule changes and the refs try to implement a lot of those rules and try to bang it in our heads by throwing the flag a lot during the game, but not too much here. I mean, 9 is a lot, but not by the standards of preseason. And so I was actually kind of shocked by that. And so that was good to see. That was good to see because that tells me that there is a level of discipline being implemented into this team, something that we haven't experienced in 3 years. So, once again, I'm encouraged. I guess the word for today is encouraged because I am encouraged by this opening game. Am I ready to scream Super Bowl throughout the streets of New Orleans now? No, but I do feel happy that the Saints look like they're trying to get it together. Now, whether it comes together this season, I don't know. The jury's still out on Dennis Allen as a head coach. I still have zero faith in him. When the chips are down, unfortunately, it's going to have to take the Saints being in an impossible situation to whereas he's actually going to have to coach. And he's put in a situation where he's going to have to think on the fly and pull it off for me to really get on board, and I hate being that way because you don't have to prove nothing to me. I'm not Jesus. And so you don't have to go through all that. But you have lost so much faith, I guess you could say, or I've lost so much faith in you as a head coach. I can't help but request you to do something walking on water in order in order for me to get on board with it. But we'll see, man. This is going to be an interesting year. This is do or die this season. Do or die. I hope he do. I really do. As much as I hate on him, as much as I hate on Derek Carr, I need them to get it together. I can't go through another season like last season. Can't do it. And so here's to you, gentlemen. Let's get it. Let's go. Who that, baby? But the Saints did win. Kudos to him for that. It was impressive to see the young quarterback lead this drive, and that's what I was talking about with the poise. He was very poised. I'm talking about Spencer Rattler. Very poised in that last 90 seconds of the game to lead the Saints down the field. Like I said, he was helped with penalties, but at no point during that drive did I feel they weren't going to get in field goal range. He just looked comfortable. The team looked like they were comfortable, like they were behind him. They were, you know what I'm saying? That's what you need. Last year, you didn't have that feeling with Derek Carr. It looked like the team was ready to throw him completely under the bus, then bag it up and roll over him again. And so it was good. It was good to see the team come together as one. This upcoming week, the Saints will be traveling to San Francisco as they hold joint practices with the San Francisco 49ers, the team they will be facing in week 2 this preseason on next Sunday, August the 18th at 7 p.m. on Fox. This can go one way or the other. This can go the good way, which I'm praying for, where we go up against or practice with a team with championship pedigree. Even though the 49ers haven't won the Super Bowl in a few years, they've been there multiple times in the last few years. Just went there last season. And so they know what it takes to get to that point, at least. Maybe not cross the bridge, but they can get to the base of the bridge. We being the Saints, we don't even know where the bridge is located. So we can, iron sharpens iron. And so if you going up to San Francisco practicing against this team, it can only make you better. And well, not only, either you receive it or not. And that's the way that I hope it don't go, to whereas they just completely just outdo everything, out practice you, outrun you, out physical you, out game plan you, and you just lose all hope, all encouragement that you have moving forward in the season. It can go that way as well. So it's going to be a flip of the coin on how this will play out. Will you accept this challenge with this team? Because I would imagine 49ers not going to just go and be all loosey-goosey with you at practice. They're coming with their full arsenal. Maybe not so much in the game, because when they do joint practices, the real games be the practices. When they actually play, the teams actually play, it'd be so subtle, so subdued. Ain't nothing really happening. They don't run any plays because they've ran them all just this past week in practice. And so what we're going to see Sunday is going to be watered down. The real meat and potatoes of this will happen throughout the week next week during practice. So that's what I'm excited about. I hope that this fuels the Saints to do better, be better, and win. So we shall see. But I would like to know, what did you think about the Saints' victory over the Arizona Cardinals? Did you enjoy the win? Do you think this is the sign of things to come? Or are you like me? You're like, it is what it is. It was a glorified practice, which it was. It really was. But are you also like me, just happy to see the Florida Leafs on TV? Oh my God, it felt good to see the Saints on TV playing a game. God, that felt good. But I would love to know, how did you feel? Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for this show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel on YouTube and like this video if you don't mind. Also, don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the Dome Patrol here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this breakdown of the Week 1 preseason matchup between the Saints and the Cardinals. Oh, man, football is back. Can't wait to speak to you next week when we preview the Saints versus the 49ers next Sunday on Fox. Until then, I'll be screaming to the top of my lungs, who that?